Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hi Adam, how you doing? Sending you an invite to join us up here. Hi Adam, how you doing?
Hello, Kim. I'm good. Or yourself?
I'm great, my brother. I'm good. Charlie, I hear it's cold in Accra lately.
Charlie, I'm wearing a pullover even. The weather is...
Back in the day, I don't even know if I had a sweater in my wardrobe safe.
Hey. Anyway, me, I'm sensitive to cold. So.
Okay. Because for me, the only time I ever wore those kind of clothes was when I was sick. Then I'll have to wear a sweater and those kind of things. Yeah, but otherwise, I know weather there. You don't even check weather forecast.
Oh, I mean, I guess it's the coldest month, so we are in our winter.
Hey, I remember. Meanwhile, people say they're on summer holidays.
Can you imagine? And there's so much Qatar around the cough all in the atmosphere.
I see. I always knew that June, July was rainy season. June is hard to forget because of the June 3 fire flood disaster in 2015. But I always thought the coldest months were January and December. No, not even December, like New Year, January. I thought that was the coldest month. How does January compare to August?
No, I think when you look at the, how do they call it? The temperature, it's always, I guess it's actually records the lowest. The lowest temperature. January records cool temperatures anyway, but the swing, or how would they call it, the range, the lowest, between the lowest and the highest is normally wide. But in August, you have it quite, so highest temperature, like I think for today, I don't think we even hit 28 degrees Celsius. I don't think so. Okay. And for Ghana, it's that's cold.
In fact, our audiences will hear wondering, what are these people even talking about? Please pardon me. When you start living in certain areas, you become sensitive to the weather, and you end up having 5 minutes chit chat about weather for shaggy reason. Just because you want to find something to talk about. But there's just entertain me for 1 minute more. 1 minute more. Adam, you are a surveyor. You are closer to the natural sciences than me. I'm curious about something. I've always wanted a good reference point for average temperature in Ghana. Let's say in a hot season, what is the average temperature in Accra?
Okay. I'm thinking, I'm just off the top of my head because I did geography, so I liked following temperature. How do you call that thing? These people, I think, the one they were doing on GTV, weather forecaster. So I think in the hot, pardon me?
The meteo service, those people.
Yes. So in the hottest seasons, I think we could, in Accra, we can peak 33, 34 degrees Celsius. And I think on a very hot day, you get 35, which is rare. I don't think but I know 33, 34. Yeah. On a hot day, yeah.
Hey, then when I am, it's really hot. Okay. All right. Cool. Anyway, thank you all for indulging my curiosity about the weather. Today we have an interesting guest with us. We have Kweku Ananiapia. To our audience members who've been paying attention, that name is familiar because the founder of Money Convos is Mimi Ananiapia. So today we have the better half of Mimi here. You understand? If you think Mimi can talk, wait till you listen to Kweku talk. Yeah. So anyway, we'll have Mimi. Mimi, I see you are joining the audience. Feel free to come up if you so desire and join in that conversation. But today we are continuing on with our series about entrepreneurship. A bit of background. For about a year now, the Ghanaian economy has been some type of way. People have lost confidence in financial services. People were encouraged to put money in the bank, in investment houses, in the stock markets, in the bond markets. But when the economy started going south and we needed our money, inflation was going up, all that, then the investment houses couldn't pay the money back. Why? Because the government of Ghana defaulted on its bonds. What does that mean? They were supposed to pay interest on the bonds. They couldn't pay the interest on the bonds. They were supposed to pay back some bonds which had matured. They couldn't pay it back. But then treasury bills they were able to pay. If these terms are new terms to you, I encourage you to go back on our YouTube channel and our podcast channel, look up some of the previous discussions we've had about some financial terms, bond markets, and all that. It will be a good place for you to get some refreshers. But basically, investments with the government. Imagine you lent your money to the government and they were supposed to pay you back your principal plus your interest. The treasury bill side of things was not affected by the bond side. The bond sides are the investments that last longer than a year. And that had a ripple effect throughout the economy, affected multiple industries, banks, pension houses, investment banks. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. People are not getting access to their money. So people are thinking about alternative investments to the traditional finance houses or investment houses or banks. Where else can they put their money? And two of the areas that people are thinking about that we want to talk about is being entrepreneurial. That somebody would take up the effort on their own to say, hey, I want to start a business. Maybe I know I have a particular product that I want to buy and sell or manufacture and sell, or I have a service that I want to render. They want to be entrepreneurial, take on that risk, go it alone or with other people and see if they'll make some profits, see if they can make a big business out of it. Then there are also some people who may not have the time or the skills to run a business on their own. And they are thinking, can I invest in friends or other people I know who are entrepreneurial so that if they do well, I can get some profit out of it or my money can grow from that business. They could be giving equity, that's being a shareholder or a partner in the business, or they could be lending that business money. So we know that people are thinking about these, and we want to arm you with sufficient information as you are thinking about these things. So we've had last week Edward Akani, who came to speak about Bethnal Finance. It's a business that is providing financial literacy or financial education through an app. And then this week we are talking to Kweku. Kweku, that Anani Apia, is, in his words, a field tech entrepreneur. And I like that profile, and we'll let him get into it some more. So Kweku, welcome to today's conversation. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me.
Oh, wonderful. In fact, point of correction, you didn't honor our invitation. You saw what we were doing, you heard about the topic, and you thought you had a good story to tell, and you were eager to share it with our audience. So rather, I want to thank you for your enthusiasm for coming to talk to our audience. Hopefully people would pick up on these stories. A lot of time in Ghana, people are like, oh, there's a business, you know what, I also want to get into this business. Oh, I also want to get into this business. And then 6 months down the line, that's shit. Right. So first question, let's get into this tag of yours, the field tech entrepreneur. Do you want to tell us about it? How did you come to that realization and own that brand, if I may call it that?
So depending on where you know me from, this would be the tag failure would be very interesting because I have actually had a very successful career as integrated marketing strategist. So marketing communication strategist. That's what I do for the bread and butter to put food on the table. But before I actually chanced into this, growing up, I've always been intrigued by the concept of owning my own business and being a multimillionaire or billionaire. So I tried different things along the way, but some worked very well, but somehow it never really stuck up until a couple of years. A year after university, I had this brilliant idea. I'll go into the details in a bit. I had this brilliant idea to do something innovative. And it was okay, it was okay staying in my head. I'm a dreamer, so it was okay, dreaming about these things in my head till I opened my mouth one day and then told a mentor about it. And he was like, oh, that's so fantastic. I would love to definitely invest into that. So write a business plan. So me and my then partner, I spoke to him about it. We put a plan together. We went to see the investor. And then the first shock landed. Oh, I like the business plan, well thought out, but then go invest into it first and then come back to me and then I'll invest into it. And I thought that was such a, I'm not even sure what the word was, but so at that point we're like, okay, fine, we're already down this rabbit hole. So let's go ahead and then do it. We did it. It failed like so bad, like so bad. People squandered our money and we learned from it. The investor never invested. Along the way, we met another prospective investor along the way who was interested in some aspect of what we said we were going to do and then said, if we ever decide to focus on that, we should come see him. So when this failed, at that point, getting married, have to settle down. So we said, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. This whole tech entrepreneurship thing, I'm not going to do it again. But when you have a bug and you're doing something that you're good at, but then you have these woulda, coulda, shoulda moments, at some point you yield. So again, 8 years down the line, the bug came very strong. And then a friend decided that, oh, you know what? You seem to hate your job so much that let's, I'll invest into this. Let's go. So I tried my second attempt at being a tech entrepreneur, pumped all my soul, my money, everything into it. And I failed yet again. So, and around that time, married man, had kids. I remember, okay, is she here? Okay, well, I can declare. I remember very well the day Mimi broke the news to me that we're expecting our second. And at that point, it's like everything that could fail had failed. Like that was the point where I knew for a fact that, it seems like there's no deliverance on the horizon. So I definitely need to take a job to make this work. So it was at that point that I realized that, okay, I had failed and came to accept the term. But it wasn't more, at that point, it was more of like, I'm not sure even if acceptance is the word. It was more of like acquainting myself with it. But it was just until early part of this year that I began to accept it and then own that hack, because I realized that at that point, I'd actually allowed myself to sort of rip the bandage off and then really look at the wound and then try to examine what went wrong, glean the right lessons from it. And in doing so, I, embraced that as a badge of honor. And now I can confidently say that I'm a field tech entrepreneur, knowing that there is good in it and that I actually learn something from it, and I am going to attempt it again. I'm actually in the process of doing that, and my posture and my approach is totally different because now I'm wiser about the whole experience and how to navigate this. So yeah, that's how I choose to answer that question.
Thank you for sharing that. That's some good background. I like how you started off and you were saying that depending on where people know you, they may be surprised to hear about failure, because you have your main thing that you do, and it's marketing strategy, right? And you are very good at that. These are bugs that you caught and you tried them out. So the way I'm getting it is, you were taking on your entrepreneurial activities, two main ones, right? And perhaps we could take each story, each description one at a time. But were you doing these on the side of your main job, or is there any of them that you went full in, stopped doing a main job and focused all in on one?
Both of them I went full in. So the first was, we can actually go into it now. The first was right after uni. So when I was in uni, everybody who's going to school in Legon or in Ghana knows that there comes a time where you have to write your long essay or a dissertation for those who don't school in Ghana. And the most heartbreaking experience anyone who went to Legon would have is the fact that when you have to do your literature review, they take you to a room somewhere where the fate of your eventual dissertation would yield. And it's like all the dissertations are there on the floor somewhere. If you are lucky in some departments, it's properly cataloged, and other departments is not. It's lying on the floor. Like you sort of rummage through the mess and try to make sense of what is in there and if there's anything worth, using as your literature review. And I was just thinking about how damaging this was, because Harvard and some of the best universities in the world make money off the knowledge of their students. Students actually do research specifically tailored for industry. Their dissertations are based on key research done for specific industries, and then they actually sell it off to these industries, or they sell it off to people interested in these subjects, and they make money on it. They make money from it, to fund the university. And so I was thinking, okay, what if all these dissertations were actually codified and put online? And first of all, it would give students a quick access to relevant research of their predecessors to use in their literature review. But even better, it could actually even serve to inspire industries, to, especially for those who do things in specific areas of interest to industries, and it could help inform some decision-making process. So that's what I thought about. And this, reading a bit more about it, I came to understand there was something called knowledge management. And it was a $1 billion company and $1 billion industry in the States and in the West, in the East as well. So I thought, okay, what if I started my own knowledge management expertise or enterprise in Ghana? So that was the idea. The other thing you should know about me is that there's nothing conventional about me. I think maybe another reason why my ideas seem to fail is that I never think short term. All my ideas are very long term, very disruptive, very West meets Ghana, towards shifting the goalpost and then really bringing about catastrophical actual change. So so that was the first idea that essentially I had.
Okay, that's it. And can you share with us why exactly that idea failed? Was it that people didn't want to pay for these journals or these papers, or the universities were not willing to share them, or the tech wouldn't work? What really went wrong?
What went wrong was that I think we were thinking too big about what the market entry product was supposed to be. So what we wanted to actually enter the market with was something close to what the Harvard Business Review was doing at that time, because I felt like if you're going to do this, we might as well do it and do it well. And unfortunately for us, both myself and then my partner, none of us had any tech experience. None of us were coders. None of us understood anything about building an app or building an e-solution. So we had to rely on second and third parties to be able to build that for us. These second and third parties that we engaged were very, I don't think till date, I don't think they really understood what we wanted to do. But they framed understanding, and they took our money and did some shabby, stuff for us, which didn't even, meet up to scratch at all. So that's about where everything failed, because originally when I shared the idea with the way we are speaking right now, when I shared the idea with my mentor at that time, and he thought it was a great idea, he said we should go and do the business plan. We came from the perspective of knowing that, okay, someone is actually going to give us the money for us to build a team to be able to build the solution, and then go speak to the necessary stakeholders to then give us access to the content to then, start putting it out there. But immediately he came back and said, you go do everything, you go build it, and then, and then come back to me later and let's see how we progress. That sort of shattered everything. So it's like now we had to sit back and regroup and figure out what we're going to do. And at that time, we were broke. We didn't have much money. And when you realize that you don't have tech experience or coding experience, you quickly realize how expensive the venture can be. So I think at that point, it never took off. We tried to build a small version of it with people who we thought understood what we're trying to do. I don't think they quite understood what we're trying to do. So at the end of the day, what they built was really, really, really bad. So it never saw the light of day. And then we tried the whole seeking. When we realized that was also failing, we tried going around and then seeking other investors. And you quickly realize that in Ghana, when you're trying to do something very big, something that all these prospective investors don't understand, they frame interest, but they take you on a wild goose chase. Oh, come tomorrow. Oh, this is brilliant. Oh my God, you guys are so smart. Oh, come tomorrow. And then, cancel culture starts. They don't pick up your calls. You meet them somewhere in town and they're like, you called me. Charlie, no, you call me again. Sorry, I was in a meeting. Like the whole charade thing starts. And if you are not clued on, you continue on this, praying very hard, thinking that the breakthrough is just around the corner. And then before you know it, you spend 2 months, 3 months, a year chasing after the same people and you don't get anywhere. So I think that was the experience for the first one.
Wow, that's just listening to it. That must have been really tough to go through, heartbreaking, because you it's not like you have, this is your side gig. You have something else to fall on, and you're holding on to this hope, because it's even the hope that got you really started on these things, right? So I'm thinking through some of the lessons people could pick up from what you've shared so far. One of them is about how to get developers to assist you if you're thinking tech and you don't have the skills. But another, which I think we should delve into first, is interest of investors and potential customers. Because even though we are talking about investors, sometimes the same attitude works with people who claim they will buy your products, right? So from what you've described, at which points do you know that somebody is truly invested or truly interested in your idea to a point where they are willing to do a bank transfer or sign a check for you? And at which points do you know that you should give up? Do you have any lessons you've picked up on that? So,
yeah. So I think I'm going to sound very controversial here. After my experiences, I have learned that never trust a potential Ghanaian investor. There's something about us in our culture that we are very circumventive and we are not direct. We just don't know how to say no. So you can never really gauge if someone is truly honest about their intentions or not if they don't cut you a check on that day. Like right then if they don't cut you a check. Because in my mind, you read all these books, these American literature on like investments and stuff, and they talk about the grind and everything. So in my mind, when we go for meetings and presentations, and my God, we did quite a number of them. Like at a point, I became exceptionally good at like pitching, like elevator pitches, like proposals, business plans. Like back in the day, I could like pull up a business plan for you in like 2 days or 3 days. Like I became so good at it. But I realized that people were just wasting my time. And until I chanced upon some stories where, like in the US, like people were literally getting investment over lunches. Like you go on a lunch date with someone, a potential investor, and by the time the lunch is done, they cut you a check, they sign you a check. And, you know, it's not like here in Ghana where you go, the person will ask you, okay, go and bring me this. Okay, go and bring me your forecast, your 10-year forecast. Go and bring your, like, I remember there was one particular time where I just turned at my friend. I think someone had asked us to bring a 10-year profitability forecast. And I turned to my friend and I said, hold on, no. This thing that we are doing, but that we haven't even built the product and we don't even know what the market contact experience is going to be. The person wants us to like guarantee what the next 10 years.
I think we may have lost Kweku. Adam, can you hear me? Hello? If anyone can hear me, please send a reaction. Hello? Can anyone hear me? Okay, I think Dennis says he can hear me. I think we lost Kweku for a moment, so just a few moments while we get him back. Okay, so just a recap to anyone who just joined. We are having a conversation with Kweku. Kweku is who we are branding as, or we are calling, a field tech entrepreneur, and it's part of our conversation where we are thinking about other investment options outside of the traditional bank. All right. And we've realized that people are thinking about other ways of where they can put their money and make their money grow for them, or try to earn some extra income. So they are thinking about side hustles, and we want our audience to be well informed before they make such decisions. A good way to think about being informed is, what are the experiences people have had in entrepreneurship? What are the experiences people have had in side hustles? What are the experiences of people who've tried investing in businesses in Ghana? Before you start doing these things, you need to be well armed so that you can make a good decision and chart the right path. So we are having a conversation with Kweku. Kweku has had 2 failed tech businesses and he is starting another one. He from what he's saying, failed is not something you would think about if you know him from his other areas of his life, because he's a marketing strategist and he does a brilliant job of that. So we would hold on a bit while we pick up on while we get him to join back. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to join in here at this point. You could ask, and then we'll tee them up for Kweku when he comes back on. Adam, I'm bringing you up. If you can, feel free to join. And Dennis, also, if you're in a position, please do come up while we wait for Kweku. Some of the things that we'll be getting into later in this conversation are on the topic of work-life balances. I'm really curious about Kweku's take on this. Especially seeing us at a point in his journey, he got married, had children, and all that. So we'll be diving into that in a moment. But just before we broke off, we were talking about gauging interest from Ghanaian investors. Okay, Kweku, welcome back. Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, we have a lights out situation. So, like, as you can imagine, everything that comes along with it.
I know, I can imagine. Just a few, an hour ago, I was talking to a friend, and when he was driving on his way home, and when he got into his neighborhood, he was just in shock. He was like, "Oh my, everything is off," and lo and behold, the call ended. Anyway. All right. So yeah, let's get back to what you were saying about your experiences with Ghanaian investors and gauging their interests.
Yeah. What were my last words? What did you last hear me say?
I think so. You mentioned how you had you were talking to someone and the person was asking for a 10-year business plan for something that you've not a product for.
Yes. So just to summarize that, basically what I learned is that if the person cannot make a commitment in the moment after you pitch originally to them, if they didn't make any commitments then, they are probably not interested. And they unfortunately cannot say no, so they'll take you on a wild goose chase. Once they start asking you for a
Hi, Kweku, you've muted if you're speaking. Anyway, I'll take the opportunity while we wait for Kweku's connection to get restored. If you've not followed us yet, please do follow us here on Twitter. Oh, it's weird. Now, even searching for the app on my phone is confusing because I search for Twitter, I can't find it. Now I have to look for an X. Yeah. So meanwhile, some people too, they don't want to get back with their exes. So like, how do you search for your ex when anyway, I digress. But yeah, do follow us here on Twitter. It's Money Convos GH. Also follow us on Facebook, wherever you listen to your podcast, on YouTube, Instagram. And when you get to Instagram, also follow at investment_friend. That's investment friend. At Money Convos, we have a lot of general discussions about personal finance, but at Investment Friend, we provide a lot content that's more directed to you as an individual, something that would work for you. So it's more financial coaching, information that would suit your purposes, because your situation is different from your sister's, different from your wife or your husband's. Everybody is unique when it comes to their money, and the content there is really exciting, it's really interesting. You see Mimi and Sarah doing some really interesting stuff to make sure that the learnings stick in your mind. So yeah, that's something I encourage you to do, not just for yourself. Even if you followed, do encourage other people, share it, put it on your story, put it on your timeline, however, let people know, because the more of us have this information, the less likely we as individuals would be dependent on to provide financial assistance to other people. If we are all financially secure, financially independent, we can move away from the existential problems of life and then start moving towards the aspirational side of life. And then we can start thinking about ways we can form investment clubs, put money together to invest in businesses that would succeed, and then we'll all become way more wealthy than where we are at right now. So strongly encourage you, follow and encourage and share it with other people who also follow. Okay, let me see if we've got Kweku back. Okay, so Adam, can you hear me? Or Kweku, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Wonderful. Everyone can hear me. Yes, Kweku, yes, we can hear you.
Great.
Okay. So then, I guess we've learned some lessons from gauging interest. If somebody is not ready to commit immediately, you need to see the signs and want to pivot away from that person. Don't spend too much effort there. I have the next question about some lessons from your first experiences. You said tech people squandered your money. So I'm sure some people are thinking about ideas that will involve some tech assistance. What are some of the things people should know before engaging developers or coders or anyone in the tech space in terms of what can they expect, what's the pricing like, or how do they find what is appropriate pricing to make sure that they are not cheated? Any lessons from there?
Okay, a lot. So in answering that question, I'll dovetail into my second experience. So with the second experience, I took the key lessons from the first into the second. So I actually partnered with someone who was like into the tech space, who actually had a very good friend who actually had a tech firm. So then he was doing the tech stuff, the coding and everything, and then I was doing the other side of the business. And this concept was on digitizing the process of career guidance and counseling for all to have access to. Now, so to answer your question, back to answering your question, the best option for you will be finding and partnering with someone who can actually do the actual tech side of things, like actually build code or whatever. So then your CTO could potentially be your founder. So you have the ideas and you have how to the business operations side of things and how to roll the idea through once the app is built. And then the other person would do the actual tech, getting the app built. So that for me is like a match made in heaven. But if you cannot, and you decide to take the route of actually outsourcing it to someone else, then be ready to pay a lot of money. But even with that, I, again, through my experience, my failure experiences, I came to learn so much. There are a lot of these apps, Bubbles, Webflow, where you can actually build prototype versions of the app, get them to work. So it's like an almost workable, close to the real thing MVP, which actually works, and then use that to enter and gain some market entry experience and insights, which will then serve you very well when you're looking for actual investment. And usually when you're trying to get people who can do that for you, it's relatively cheaper. Otherwise, be ready to cough out a lot of money. Building a good prototype will cost you nothing less than, in my experience, $5,000 to $10,000 and the excesses of it. But again, if you should choose to go with the Indians, they are not bad. They would build you something which could be a good MVP. But sometimes, again, when you want to scale up, you may probably need to find someone else who will do it from scratch. But your best bet is to find yourself like an actual tech partner. Another route is to join an accelerator program. I know at some point I got into it. Andela, there's a program called Andela, it's an acceleration program where basically you pitch your idea. If your idea is solid enough, they bring you into I think like a 3 to 6 months incubation program where they match you up with other people who have other expertise. All of you come together, you're paired, you pitch your ideas together, you find a workable idea, and then you work together towards actually building an MVP. And then once they help you with that MVP and it's done, then you can they'll bring you to some investors, and then you gain the opportunity to speak to the investors and potentially make some money as well. So those would be my lessons.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for giving us these options for people to use. I know that the topic of partnering is something that we all know that we are lacking in Ghana, and people are being encouraged. Cede some control, be willing to share in the glory with other people who would be helping you along the way. We had Edward last week talking about having employees stock options to encourage people to give off more work into the idea that you are bringing in. This idea of having a CTO/founder, a co-founder, really is more involving. So it's encouraged for people to find that people you would have aligned values with to share in that vision. Okay, great. You mentioned Andela. How do people find these kind of incubators? Is it a simple Google search to see business incubators in Ghana, or is there any particular means that people can get access to them?
Great question. Once you decide to go into the tech space, one of the things you have to start doing is joining all these forums. One of the things you have to do is join all these forums where these like-minded people are. There are quite a number of them in Ghana. In fact, recently, I've heard of a number of accelerator programs in Ghana who are giving some serious cash out. So you definitely want to put yourself out there. I'm trying to remember some of their names. It's escaped me, but there are quite a number of them in Ghana. And depending on what you do and how you navigate this, you can make some money. So that would be my first thing. Yes, Google incubator programs in Ghana. And then secondly as well, try to do some research into some of the embassies and then the developmental cause in Ghana. For example, GIZ, the GIZs and the USAIDs have funding opportunities for tech space, tech innovations. The only thing is that the paperwork is hideous. It's crazy. You must be patient. And the whole process sometimes can take in excesses of like 6 to 24 months for you to even see some money or for you to get anywhere, any headway. So they are not also a bad resource. But if you're definitely mobile and you don't mind traveling, then I'll definitely say look into other places. because Andela, for example, the program I was trying to get into, a friend told me about it, and literally, I will never forget. The person told me about it the day before the incubation program was supposed to was due to close. So I literally applied like 24 hours to the deadline. I sent in my application, finished the form, sent in the application. Literally 2 days or a day afterwards, they called me for an interview, and like the interview went so well. The only thing that just hit me was that in the end, they mentioned that, if you're aware, this program is the incubation program was based in Kenya, so I'll be required to move to Kenya for 6 months. And is that something that I can commit to within the next? And I think they required me to, if I said yes, to pack bags and be there in like 3 weeks, something like that. And I was like, wow, like I foolishly said no first. And then later reversed and said, oh, you know what, like you just go ahead and make the offer and I'll make it work. But I think I said, like, I think the no sort of, canceled any opportunity that I had. But the opportunities are there. There are quite a number of opportunities out there, especially if you're mobile enough and you can travel and you want to travel. They are there. Andela has incubation programs all around the world. There are quite a number of places and people and opportunities as well. So I'll definitely say Google. I'll definitely say join a lot of forums. There are a lot of these WhatsApp groups that I'm part of. There's Stanbic Bank incubation program, incubation hub. It's like a WhatsApp platform where every other day they are dropping things there of opportunities. There's I've forgotten. I mean, when I remember, I'll make a list of it and share. You can potentially share on your page. But there are quite a number of opportunities for people who are young and fresh and mobile, unlike some of us who are very for me, decisions like these are very complicated because there's family to think about and so many other things. So yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you for sharing those names and those resources. I'm sure people would be able to Google them, especially the point about if people want to get into the tech space or even in the entrepreneurial space, you just have to start going where the information is supplied. Join these WhatsApp groups, Twitter profiles that share this kind of information. I think I know somebody who shares some content with me on WhatsApp regularly, and I see it on Twitter. Is it Open Space? I know that there's something like Open Space. Kweku, have you heard about that?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. They are also there. They're also there.
Yeah, they're also entrepreneurial space. So people like follow Open Space, that kind of stuff. And once you start, I guess it becomes a chain reaction. Once you start consuming that information, even the social media algorithms will all work in that favor. It just keeps feeding you more of such information for you to keep going there. But you start seeking the information and it will come to you. Okay. Towards the end of what you were talking about, the kind of the things that you needed to think about when you were making these decisions that you had to make was family. Let's start talking about work-life balance and juggling family life and all that. I know that with your first entrepreneurial venture, you were not yet married, were you?
Yeah, but I was single.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're single. And then,
yeah.
But with the second one, were you married by then?
Yes, I was. The second one was in 2017. Yes, I was very, very married by then.
Ali, wait, hold on. Let me do the math well. The time you were marrying, on the wedding day, were you an entrepreneur or you were a salaried worker?
I was a salaried worker. But you see, I was a salaried worker cum entrepreneur. Okay. So the thing, so here's the other thing. For me, I that's why I say failed tech entrepreneur. But in other things that I have done or I do, I'm not like a failure because in a sense I'm almost like a market.
Okay. Hello, Kweku, can you hear me?
Sorry, I can hear you. It went. What was the last thing you heard me say?
You're saying you're almost like a.
Okay, yes. So I was saying I'm quite an accomplished entrepreneur. like a marketing consultant, solopreneur. And that has worked very well for me. And interestingly enough, the lessons I have gleaned from work, these are the things that fuel my current work and my current, businesses as a marketing consultant, because I'm able to sort of tap into some of the failures and then speak to people about it and use those as well. So, but yeah, when I started originally at the point of marriage, I was a salaried worker of some sort, cum pseudo entrepreneur. Yes, to answer your question.
Okay. That's interesting. So, because I was just thinking about people who are thinking through these options. If somebody is not yet married, but they are thinking about being married, just imagine you have to go. How one you convince the person that you are trying to you are dating that, oh, I want to marry you, but Charlie, I also want to be an entrepreneur, and then you go and tell their parents and your parents all these things. Like, did these thoughts ever cross your mind? Do you have any tips for anyone who is at the crossroads like that?
This thing, it's something Mimi and I fought about, because she was not about it at all. You guys have listened to Mimi well enough to know that she's very stable. Mimi's idea of excitement is to see her bank account well funded. Any disruptions in the bank balance, causes serious issues. So I am like, let's go and do it. I don't mind being broke and have nothing to my name, so far as I don't have any regrets. Like, I actually went and I did it. So at the point of my Yama, she was quite worried that, it's like every day I had a new idea and she wasn't seeing the head or tail of stuff. So it took some convincing to get her to marry me. And then even after we married, I had to like make sure at that point, all my entrepreneurial stuff had to be side hustles. The only reason why she agreed for me to do the second round was that my very good friend was the one who was coming, my very good friend and then partner was coming on board with money. And she knew him and she knew he was liquid and actually had money. And before I even came, he had shown we had actually gotten office space. He had put some money. We had registered the business. We had a bank account. He had put some money in there. Like, she could actually see like that there was money there. And one thing she told me was that, look, I can support you, but I'm not paying school fees. And I'm like, yeah, like she was hard. She was really, really hard. So at the point where things were going south and money wasn't coming in and it was affecting my school fees paying obligations, I knew I had to take a job. So yeah.
Okay. That's these are lessons on both sides of the situation. For both the entrepreneur and somebody dating someone with entrepreneurial desires. If you are dating someone and you know that this person likes to take risk and has business ideas, you need to make sure that you have a buffer there. But most importantly, something I picked up is have these conversations. So, because if you don't have these conversations and times, when it got to the point where time got tough, it really could have gone south if you hadn't had that prior conversation. So good lessons learned from there. Also, still sticking on this a little more, knowing that you are entrepreneurial, what advice would you give people who are entrepreneurial and about the kind of people that they surround themselves with? One, in terms of spouses or people they want to be in relationships with. Two, friends. And three, family. How would you address each of these groups?
Interesting. Make sure you marry someone who will challenge you. It's not the easiest. I won't lie. It's not the easiest, but it's very helpful. My ability to be where I am today is because of who I'm married to. And interestingly enough, at some point, like last year, one of my entrepreneurial things worked out. And I mean, when it rained big. And, we're all happy about it. So, marry and marry well, have these tough conversations and listen to each other and have a plan. I'm fortunate enough to be married to who I'm married to, and she was very, we had non-negotiables and we had clear plans. So for her, it was like, okay, fine, I'm not going to stop you from pursuing what you want to pursue, but these are your obligations to the family. So whatever it is, you must make sure that you have a buffer or you have an income source, another stream of income, which is going to, deliver your basic. So if it's school fees plus whatever it is, and you have to bring home 6K every month, you have to bring the 6K. We are not even going to talk about that. And once you can show me that you can do that and you can provide, then we can go ahead. So as far as that's concerned, have those conversations, those tough conversations, understand what each person's non-negotiables and negotiables are, and build a plan towards it. Sometimes the plan would mean having a bank account, like an emergency fund that you fund ahead of time, and to serve as a buffer for some of these things. I remember the second time around when I decided to do it, even though I left at that time, I was pretty interesting. I was on a job where if I had stayed, I was just about to be promoted to senior management, to like a senior manager role. And in a few months after that, I could have been the head of department. And I left, but I was able to negotiate for them to still take me as a consultant. And that's something that I've done quite well. So I've always had these small things, which if push comes to shove, I'm able to make some 2K here, some 3K here, some whatever. And it comes together to sort of support the family. So that's one. Two, as far as family is concerned, you need to also get the buy-in of your family. I'm also very fortunate that I've had a very supportive family. And I can confidently say this now. Look, for 6 to 7 years of our marriage life, we were living at my parents' place. It started off as, we needed help with the kids because we had a newborn. But at some point, and then Mimi had to go to school, but at some point when the business thing came in, I needed the support. So I had a conversation with my dad and my mom, and, they were like, look, this is what we can do to support. We don't necessarily have the money to give you, to pump into your business. I mean, eventually my dad gave me some money for my business, but he said, okay, fine, stay as long as you need to stay and see how you can make this work. Because if you make it work, I mean, we all benefit from it. So there was that. So I was literally living in my father's house, eating my father's food. Like, what Ghanaians would determine being a man, I see that and I was still, relying on my father, living in my room, my old room with my wife and my son. And then, eventually my second son. So, and it's something that you have to J your eye, if for want of a better expression, because you have to look at the end goal and not at the current circumstances. And again, that brings me back to the first point. You need to be on the same space with your wife or your spouse. Because if the two of you are not on the same space, it would cause serious issues. Because already it's a very uncomfortable situation. Women like their space. So being in the space, no matter how, my mom is a fantastic person, but I mean, my wife also wants her own space. So there will definitely be those clashes. But that's where you need to have those negotiables and non-negotiables listed down, and then the goal listed down for you to understand where you're going. And it's very important to do this as well because you don't want to live a life with regrets. I said earlier that I hate woulda, coulda, shoulda moments. Oh, I could have done this. Oh, I should have done this. Oh, I would have done that. I hate those things in my life. So at any point in my life, I make sure that if a genuine opportunity shows up, I am able to run after it. I used to pursue this a bit more when I was younger, and as I grew older, it's like I've got opportunities because I'm a father and my family. But back to the point, it's very important to have these conversations and build on these conversations. And the third thing is, friends, look, I decided to be an interpreter. Sometimes the chilling has to stop. And because the money which you're going to use to chill, you can pump that money back into your business, or you can use that money to build memories for your family, which will take them a long way. So one of the things I used to do is that, like, whatever small money I have, rather than spending it on friends, I mean, I don't really have that many friends. I'm just like a church boy. But I would rather take my wife out and, give her a good time, show her a good time. And that would buy me like goodwill for like 2 months. So till the goodwill train is gone, and then, I have to find another money and then go quickly to another date. I mean, those times was a Coco Lounge was like our place. Like, with like 150 Ghana cedis, who get in, get like 2 drinks, 2 cranberry juice, get like a pizza and a nice dessert, like a cheesecake, and we're out of there for like 150. Like, the life was like a life of budget, and then you have a good time, talk, and then you're back home, and then, your wife is all in love with you, and she lives in the dream, and that will last you like a month and a half or 2 months, and then you need to find another 150, 200 and go and splurge. On the days where you have more, you do some slightly elevated places and stuff like that. So yeah, rather than spending that money on going out with friends and chilling and stuff, spend that money on your spouse, on your family, gathering memories, so that you don't also lose out. Because the entrepreneurial journey can be a very long and only one. Make sure that you don't lose yourself process, and you don't lose out on amazing things that are happening. Yeah, that's my opinion for now.
Wow, these have gotten me thinking, man. And I hope I see a lot of young men in the audience, and I hope we are thinking about it. Edem, we know that Edem is not married, so definitely good advice ahead of time, because Edem, the clock will start ticking on you very soon. But anyway, these are really good points. Reminds me of some conversations I have with some close friends. And for a man, being focused, if you are in a relationship, can really help you to focus and not waste money on other things, so that you can spend the money where you really need it to be. So it's good to hear that this is what you did, and it worked for you. And maybe it's not on here, but at least now we have something to tease here about. And just say Coco Lounge. Okay, all right, all noted. Anyway, our title for this conversation, it says Kweku, the failed tech entrepreneur. But from some of the stuff that you've said, I can see that it can be quite misleading, because you have been very successful in other areas, and that success has given you some form of a baseline from which you can operate. Either a baseline by way of some small income that comes every now and then, like the 2K, 3K every now and then from some consulting gig, which your success in marketing gave you the clout to end those contracts, right? And then also those successes gave you the confidence that, hey, you can actually run other businesses. So a lesson I'm picking up is people shouldn't just say, you know what, I'm entrepreneurial and not be good at any particular thing. And they would say that, oh, the corporate life doesn't work for me. Yes, maybe it doesn't work for you, but what are you showing competence in? Because it's picking up on something that Edward also said last week. Sometimes people may just see you as a competent person and be willing to invest in a different business idea altogether that you may not have demonstrated some competence in. So it's a good point that we need to pick up on. Again, also this issue of failure versus having a branding of failure versus success, it's getting me thinking about when people say that, oh, university is not important. After all, Zuckerberg dropped out of, was it Harvard? Bill Gates also dropped out of Harvard. Then you realize that the people saying this, well, you first enter Harvard and let's see then let's see you drop out before we can believe in you. Because I can assure you, getting into some of these places that people who've been very successful have dropped out of, that in and of itself is a badge of success in a way. So we may be talking about failure and we may seem like we are embracing it at this point, but it shouldn't be mistaken for what it is. We are focusing on the lessons that came out of failure and how we can pick up on it, but we are not encouraging people to go out and deliberately fail or not be not be competent at stuff that they are supposed to be competent at. So strongly encourage everyone, find a field of competence, find a field that you can be an expert in to establish your credibility, and many doors would open for you. Your reputation is very important, so you need to make sure that you develop that very well. Okay, so I think we've lost Kweku for a moment, but when he comes back, we'll just wrap up the conversation. But hey, if anyone in the audience has any questions about the life of an entrepreneur, starting businesses or investing in businesses, please do feel free to DM us your question and we would ask on your behalf. Adam, are you there? Any thoughts you've picked up so far?
Yeah, Elikem. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's interesting the way he persevered, and also I look at how he's looked out for his family and how he's made provision for it, because oftentimes you know that this entrepreneurial journey is not that easy, and people pick it up, and before you realize, it's affecting the very people who are close to you, and if you are not careful, they can then become like a source of sort of like a drawback, because like they are feeling the pinch, you are seeing the vision. But if you can put aside if you can put in place some buffet, so that if even it's not going as much as it is you are planned, there's something that's like a cushion. So I think that's for me what I've picked from his story so far, and I think it's worth emulating and then putting it in place. And also how, like you said, some things are there, you have to GI for it, and just focus on your plan and know where you are going, and eventually you'll get there.
Word. Yeah, those were very good lessons we've picked up from this conversation, Charlie. But I'm curious, have you ever been in a situation where, I know you are single, not just married single, there's married single, but I don't know about other kinds of single, you understand? But have you ever been in a situation where you've had to have these conversations with someone about the nature of your career and your aspirations?
Oh yes, I've been in such situation before, and sometimes depending on how you are, where you are going to, for me that is one of the things that is like a determining factor. If that kind of where I'm looking at going, and the way I've planned and I'm working towards it, if I'm trying to sell my vision to you as in our conversations and everything, and you don't seem to be able to buy into it, for me, I know it's going to become a problem later on. So it's one of the things I used to clear people out as quickly as possible.
Okay, use it to clear people out. I like that term. Yeah, it's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone recently, and the person was saying that, she's a woman. She was saying that she wants to have a kind of family where the husband would be at home quite often, present, help changing diapers, helping with their children, go out for their children's activities, whether it's soccer practice or piano or whatever, be so involved. And I was like, that's interesting. Well, good to know. But it's, for me, somebody like me, that one there, it can't happen. It can't happen with me, because the kind of career that I want to have, kind of career I'm having and I want to have, and it's not going to get any better, I won't have that time. I can guarantee you that the few moments that will be together and I'll help out, it will be very quality time, and some people or some women I've spoken to would say they are hesitant to say what exactly they want early on, because they feel like men would change or pretend to fit in that character just to get them. But for someone like me, and from what Kweku was saying and what them you are saying, Charlie, we are too old to be playing these kind of games, So as a man, or even a man or a woman or anybody you are, you need to be focused, know exactly what you want, what works for you, have your negotiables and have your non-negotiables. There are certain things that you can manage, but the things that you can't manage and they won't be aligned with your actual interests, please don't pretend that you can keep up with those things. Be very clear about it right on the onset. And like Adam said, clear people. There are over 7 billion people in the world. Maybe even if you take Ghana, over 30 million people, half of them are of the opposite gender, roughly. And then maybe some within your vicinity crowd, the people that you may access, maybe about 1 million people that are within your age group or so, or even if it's 500,000 people crowd, at least there's more fish in the sea. It may take some more effort to find the right person, but you really don't have to settle on things that you can't negotiate. You can't negotiate on, or they must happen. All right. So anyway, those are some lessons. I'm quickly trying to get to see if Kweku would be joining us for the ending part. It looks like the internet is really bad, so we would have to wrap up without him. But yeah, it's been a good conversation with Kweku. Much appreciation to Kweku for sharing his insights. Not many people would own the title of field tech entrepreneur, but I feel like this title was a bit misleading because there was some success from his main stuff as a marketing strategist, from which he and also that success helped him build up his reputation, which gave him the confidence and assets to be able to take on other activities. So yeah, anyone who is thinking about learning, who is thinking about getting into entrepreneurship or investing in Ghanaian businesses, I strongly encourage you to listen to this conversation from the top if you didn't, and also go play back last week's conversation with Edward Akani, founder of Bethnal Finance. We have a few more conversations coming up next week. I believe it's a conversation with Jay Anaman, and he's founder of Career Wheel. They provide career assistance, resume writing, and all that. So it'll be good to hear about his experience. He's also had this side hustle thing that got really serious kind of experience. So it'll be good for us to hear from people who've tried these things. They are growing or they failed, and we will know how to adjust our experiences. We can't all learn from experience, but else we'll all fail and be unsuccessful. It's good if we can learn from other people and avoid the mistakes they made. So thank you all for spending this Sunday night with us. As the week comes and you are thinking entrepreneurial, please do tune back in, replay this conversation. Also, if you are thinking about productivity and your personal finance, go back and listen to our other conversations we've had. Follow us here on Twitter or X. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you want to see us. It's at Money Convos GH. You can also get on Instagram and follow at Investment Friend, where we provide more direct investments information that's tailored to your individual situations, kind of like financial coaching. The content there is really exciting. Mimi and Seram do a really good job of providing some exciting content that would help you. There are also challenges there that would help you save towards an emergency fund, take your financial goals seriously, budgeting, all that good stuff. So yeah, more deliberate effort on that side. Even if you followed or it's not for you, share it with other people, help them to become financially independent, because the more people who are financially independent, the less pressure there is on the few of us who are to be able to assist them, and we'll all live happily ever after. Thank you for your time once again. I wish you a great week ahead and talk to you next week. All right. Bye and good night.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.